Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're opening a door onto something quite heavy, a type of suffering that's uniquely isolating because it's almost entirely invisible.
That's right. We're not talking about physical wounds, not even the kind of sharp grief that comes with, say, a death. It's something sneakier, more insidious.
Yeah, insidious is a good word. We're looking at this really deep, reflective pain, the pain of being essentially erased by the very people who, biologically should be the closest, your own adult children.
It's a journey into familial abandonment, but it cuts much deeper than the sort of typical family conflict stories we often hear.
Yeah.
And the sources we're drawing on today, they articulate this with, I think, incredible bravery, moving beyond just the raw emotion to really analyze the existential cost.
Right, and the author, they set this somber tone right away, giving this chilling definition of the suffering they and others like them are going through.
And we have to acknowledge the sheer weight of this pain from the outset.
Absolutely. The source material doesn't mince words. It defines it not just as, feeling sad or upset, but as a permanent internal wound, a scarring. I think it's crucial we read this opening concept exactly as it's written. This is the pain that leaves no bruises upon the skin, but carves deep scars within. It is the pain of being erased by one's own child.
That phrase, carves deep scars with it. Wow. It immediately tells you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This isn't just a disagreement you get over. This feels like structural damage. Damage to the parent's very sense of self, their identity.
And what makes it so tragic, as the source points out, is that it's not unique. It's not some rare family dysfunction.
No, tragically not. The author shares that they and their husband have both faced this exact same fate.
Yeah.
Children who just turn their backs.
Different histories, different families.
But the same outcome. The author calls it a mirrored wound.
Mirrored wound, that's powerful. Different stories, identical scars. But here's the part that really gets me. The detail that separates this from, say, a messy divorce or a huge family feud. The separation wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud.
Exactly. That's the hardest truth, as the source puts it. The ending didn't come from some big betrayal or a terrible fight. No shouting match, no slammed doors necessarily.
So what was it then?
It was just a stop. A quiet, almost chilling end to their presence in the parent's life.
The source says, and again, I want to get this exactly right, one day, simply, they ceased to be there. We were erased, as if we had died.
Faded out. The relationship didn't explode, it just went cold, leaving the parent in this state of, suspension. Agonizing suspension.
Yeah, indefinite, like waiting for a call that never comes.
And that suspension, that not knowing, it fuels this central, really haunting question that we have to tackle in this deep dive. It's the question, every parent in this situation must ask themselves constantly. The source really compels us to confront it. Why would an adult child with independence of mind and life of their own choose silence, choose indifference?
Why indeed? Let's try and unpack that. Starting with this idea of erasure, this feeling of living death. Okay, so the sensation of living death, it feels like it goes beyond just emotional pain, doesn't it? It's almost existential.
Absolutely. You're not just grieving someone who's gone, like in a death. You're grieving a relationship that's been actively, surgically removed, and the person who did the removing, they're still alive, maybe even seemingly thriving out there in the world.
That's the psychological twist, isn't it? Being consciously erased by someone who's still present. Physically present in the world, but absent from your life.
Right. The author describes it as feeling dead in life. It's not just grief. It feels like a kind of banishment, a psychological exile.
Almost like being erased from history itself.
Precisely. That phrase captures the horror of it.
This makes me think of that psychological concept, ambiguous loss. Is that relevant here?
Oh, absolutely spot on. Ambiguous loss is the perfect framework. Dr. Pauline Boss developed this, and it really helps explain the unique damage here. Conventional loss, like death, is usually clear. It's horrific, but it's final. There's a reality to grasp onto.
But this kind of loss,
the
loss of a living child through silence, it's completely ambiguous.
Exactly. Dr. Boss identifies two types. Type 1 is physical absence, but psychological presence, think a soldier missing in action or someone with advanced Alzheimer's. Their mind is gone, but the body is there.
Okay.
But type 2 is what we're dealing with here. Physical presence with psychological absence. The child is physically alive. Maybe you even see them post on social media or hear about them through the grapevine.
But the relationship, gone.
Utterly gone. And the agony of that ambiguity, as you said, is that the parent can never truly complete the grieving process. How can you?
There's no closure because there's no definite ending. It's It's suspended.
Right. You're haunted by this possibility, however remote, of reconciliation, which is both a source of hope and, frankly, a source of torment. It keeps you stuck.
Creating this constant, exhausting limbo state.
Mm-hmm. And the source really emphasizes this isn't just one family's sad story. The author and her husband share this mirrored wound. It points to a pattern, something shared by potentially thousands of mothers and fathers.
Which is why we need to look at the mechanisms, right? Not just see it as isolated cases of dysfunction.
Exactly. We need to understand the dynamics at play.
And if you contrast this erasure with, say, a big family argument,
Yeah.
the emotional quality is totally different.
Yeah. A shouting match, even a betrayal. It's painful, obviously. But in a strange way, it confirms the connection was deep enough to provoke that strong reaction.
Anger is proof you mattered.
In a way, yes. It shows you were significant enough to be angry with.
Yeah.
But this cessation the source describes, it's quiet, it's chilling, it's defined by indifference.
No fire, just ice.
Precisely. It's not a violent split, it's a quiet cessation of presence. The underlying message isn't I hate you, it's far colder. It's you simply do not exist to me anymore.
And that indifference, that experience of being treated as nothing,
Yeah.
is irrelevant. That's what leads to feeling dead in life.
You're alive, you've loved to give, but you've been intentionally cut out of your own family narrative, your own lineage. The pain isn't being hated, it's being treated as if you never were. So, to really grasp how this devastating indifference takes hold, we have to look at the psychological process the sources describe. And there's a technical term for it.
Okay.
Using the term is important, I think, because it helps validate the parent's experience. It shows it's a recognized dynamic, not just them feeling slighted. The technical word is parental alienation. We'll probably refer to it as PA as we go deeper, just for brevity.
Right, PA, parental alienation.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's much more than just one parent bad-mouthing the other, right?
Oh, much more. It's a complex, often subtle form of psychological conditioning. It takes root over years, and tragically, it can endure long after the child becomes an independent adult.
Even when they should be able to think for themselves objectively.
Yes, because it's not just about facts, it's about a deeply ingrained emotional narrative. It often starts, as the source says, with the alienating parent, the one doing the erasing, essentially repeating year after year the same tale of bitterness, resentment, separation, until that tale becomes truth.
Wow. So it's like narrative warfare, weaponizing the story.
It really is. It's designed to shape the child's entire perception of reality regarding the targeted parent.
Can we get into some specifics? Like, what kind of behaviors are we talking about beyond just telling a bitter story? Because that conditioning, that's what seems to lock the child in.
Sure. Clinicians who work with PA have documented a range of tactics. So some are subtle, some are quite overt. You see things like systematically limiting contact blocking calls, intercepting letters or gifts, making excuses why the child can't visit.
Okay.
Then there's the more insidious stuff, actively undermining the targeted parent's authority or affection,
Yeah.
maybe destroying photos or mementos that represent happy times with that parent, literally trying to rewrite history.
Erasing the good memories.
Exactly. Forcing the child to choose sides, sometimes implicitly, sometimes explicitly, and consistently portraying the targeted parent not just as flawed, but as somehow dangerous, unloving, or neglectful. Sometimes it even escalates to making the child feel they need to protect the alienating parent from the targeted one.
So the adult child isn't just remembering a difficult past. They're operating within this reinforced belief system
Right.
that makes the erasure feel justified, maybe even necessary.
Precisely. And this is where we hit the immense psychological barrier to reconciliation. The source highlights this really powerfully.
Right. Let's think about this from the child's perspective, the adult child. What happens if they even consider reaching out or questioning the story they've lived by?
It's terrifying for them. It's not just making a difficult phone call. It threatens the collapse of their entire understanding of their past, their identity.
The source lays out why it's so hard. First, admitting they might have been deceived or manipulated. That's a huge blow to anyone's ego, especially an adult who values their independence.
A massive blow. And think about the next step, recognizing they might have believed lies. Lies about someone who deep down maybe did love them.
And that they rejected that parent unjustly.
Yeah.
That they caused pain based on a fabrication.
Exactly. Accepting that level of personal responsibility, the guilt, the need to potentially dismantle their whole internal narrative, it's often just too overwhelming.
It means reevaluating everything, not just the erased parent, but also the parent they sided with, and their own choices.
It's a monumental task, and the source is quite blunt about the outcome for many. not all dare to face this.
They stay with the invented story.
It's psychologically safer, more comfortable, even if it's based on a lie. The stability of the known narrative outweighs the potential chaos of confronting the truth.
That's staggering. It suggests the silence, the erasure, isn't always born out of active malice from the child, but maybe from a kind of desperate self-protection, protecting their own psychological stability.
That can certainly be a major factor. But we also can't ignore the other motivations the source mentions, which add another layer of complexity: convenience.
Alignment by convenience, what does that mean?
It means the choice isn't purely based on the manipulated emotions or the need for psychological comfort. Sometimes it's pragmatic, almost cynical.
So the adult child sides with the parent who offers more security, more ease, more advantages.
Yes. This could be financial. Maybe the alienating parent controls the money, the house, the inheritance. That's a powerful lever.
Sure.
But it can also be social or emotional security. Aligning with the parent who controlled the narrative from the beginning often means staying within the established family structure, the accepted social circle.
Avoiding drama, avoiding rocking the boat.
Exactly. Challenging the status quo would be incredibly disruptive. So the path of least resistance, silence, towards the erased parent becomes the chosen path.
So PA isn't just one thing, it's this system, right? Starts with manipulation, gets reinforced by the child's own defenses, and then maybe cemented by practical benefits.
It creates this fortress of silence around the child, making it almost impossible for the erased parent to break through.
Which underscores again that the silence is often a symptom of this deeper pathology, not necessarily a fair judgment on the erased parent's worth or love.
That's a crucial takeaway. You know, one of the most deeply painful aspects described in the source material is this broken expectation the parent held on to.
What expectation was that?
The hope, the fundamental belief that adulthood itself would change things. That once the children grew up, became independent, then dialogue would finally be possible.
Ah, right. That hope that keeps so many parents going through tough times with kids. The author puts it so clearly. I thought that when they grew into adults, we would speak, even if it was difficult.
Yeah.
That we might argue, even shout, at least we would meet eye to eye.
The expectation wasn't for a fairy tale reunion necessarily, it was for reality, for an adult-to-adult interaction, even a contentious one.
They could handle anger, disagreement, as long as it was real, as long as it was connection.
The hope was that the fog of childhood, the influence of the alienating parent, maybe that would dissipate with age and independence.
But that's where the hope crashes into reality.
It really does. The source states it with such brutal clarity. This is the pivot point. Adulthood does not guarantee emotional maturity, and therein lies the greatest heartbreak.
Oof, that's a tough truth. Adulthood doesn't equal maturity.
No, because real maturity, emotional maturity, requires courage. The courage to face difficult truths, to sit with discomfort, maybe dismantle beliefs you've held for a lifetime.
It requires empathy too, right? And self-reflection.
Absolutely. And when that's lacking, and it often is, especially in these situations where PA might have actually stunted the child's emotional growth, the easiest path is often avoidance, silence, keeping the relationship suspended.
So the child chooses the comfortable silence over the uncomfortable truth. And that choice is what leaves the parent hanging in that void we talked about.
They waited for the maturity that would allow for that difficult, maybe healing conversation.
Only to find the child chose, well, avoidance, maybe convenience.
And the author offers this really striking contrast from her own life experience. It shows that enduring parental conflict doesn't have to lead to erasure.
How so?
She states very clearly that she never abandoned her own parents, even though, in her words, they tore each other apart. They were volatile.
So she stayed, despite the dysfunction.
She stayed. She chose resilience, it seems, not revenge or running away. She chose to accompany them, to endure their issues.
But she also recognizes that's not the only path children take.
Right. She reflects that not everyone makes that choice. Some children do flee the pain. Others, as she puts it, freeze the bond.
Or place it in indefinite suspension.
That phrase again, indefinite suspension, that's the defining state of this erasure. It's not over, it's just paused forever. The parent is neither fully cut off nor fully present, just suspended.
This incredibly insightful analysis, it comes from such a personal place. And before we get into the final, really heart-wrenching distinction between absence and death, I think it's important we share the author's identity, just to ground this in her lived reality, as she explicitly wants us to.
Yes, I agree. She offers this context herself. I am Vanina Vergara, CV Vergara, to the English-speaking world, born in Asunción, Paraguay. I have 3 children whom I love deeply, and this is my life.
Thank you. Knowing that deep personal connection, it definitely makes these reflections on absence and the void, well, it makes them resonate even more profoundly for us and for you listening.
Okay, so now we really get to the emotional core of this. The source draws this crucial, painful distinction between conflict, which, however awful, still implies connection, and absence,
Right.
which is negation.
Right. The source is emphatic. This silence is not like a quarrel. In a fight, even an angry one, there's proof you still matter.
Anger shows you're significant enough to provoke that strong emotion. It's a kind of perverse intimacy, as you said earlier. The relationship is still hot, even if it's painfully so.
But absence. The source calls it colder, crueler.
Much colder. It's the non-being. It's the void. And that void hurts more than a blow.
It's passive, isn't it? A passive cruelty. When someone hits you, you react, you defend, you heal. But when you're erased, what do you fight against?
You're fighting against nothingness, trying to reconcile your own existence with the fact that your child acts as if you don't exist.
And this void, this nothingness, it leads back to that powerful metaphor we touched on earlier, death in life.
Yes, because think about actual death. As a society, we have ways, rituals, structures for dealing with it.
There's mourning, funerals, grieving processes, ways to acknowledge the loss and eventually, hopefully, find some closure.
Exactly. We have rituals to mark the ending, to say farewell, to confirm the reality of the loss. But when a living child essentially declares you dead to them,
Society offers nothing. No script, no ritual, no recognized process for mourning someone who is still walking around.
the loss is ambiguous, ongoing. The pain becomes chronic. The source puts it starkly. In this state of erasure, no ritual can soothe, no symbolic burial can close the wound.
It is a loss without goodbye, without explanation, without body, without words.
That phrase, without body, that hits hard.
It does. There's no physical proof of the loss, so the parent is often denied even the social permission to grieve fully. Other people might just see the child living their life and not understand the depth of the parent's invisible wound.
It's like you're carrying around this invisible death certificate for the relationship.
Yeah, and that's why it leads to this state of just chronic exhaustion, mental, emotional exhaustion. The parent is left, as the source says, walking with ghosts.
Multiple ghosts, actually. The source identifies 3 specific ones that haunt them daily.
Okay, let's break those down, because they really show the different dimensions of this loss. First,
First, the ghost of what was. All the memories of the past, the childhood connection, the good times, now all overshadowed, tainted by the current reality of erasure.
the happy memories become painful reminders.
Then there's the loss of the future, the ghost of what might have been.
All the missed milestones, future holidays, graduations, weddings, maybe grandchildren the parent will never meet or know, the shared experiences of aging, the support you hoped for.
All of that potential future, stolen by indifference, that ghost represents a future that will never materialize.
And the third ghost,
Perhaps the most draining one, the ghost of the conversation that never comes.
the ghost of expectation, the hope for answers, for understanding, for reconciliation. That hope stays alive, flickering, torturing.
Every birthday that passes without a call, every holiday, every significant life event just reinforces the silence, the absence of that crucial, maybe healing conversation. It never arrives.
And living with these ghosts day in, day out, that's what grinds you down.
Exactly. The source explicitly notes how this perpetual suspension wears one down and exhausts.
It makes sense. When someone actually dies, there's an ending. It's devastating, but it's final. There can eventually be rest.
But when you're erased by the living, you just hang there, in the void, indefinitely.
Suspended, forgotten, yet still alive.
You're forced to live with the knowledge that your own family story, your history, has been actively rewritten, edited.
And in the new version, you're just gone. Erased neatly, like pencil from a page, with no trace left behind.
The child is making a continuous choice to maintain that edited version, to keep the parent excised.
It comes back to that void, that feeling of non-being. You're still here, thinking, feeling, loving, but you've been deemed unworthy of existence within your own family line.
That's the ultimate passive cruelty, and every single day that question bubbles up again, doesn't it? Hauntingly. And again, the question rises, why?
Right.
Why do grown children, capable of thought, choice, and decision, choose to turn their backs?
And the answer, as we've sort of explored, seems to lie more in the complexities of alienation and the child's own psychological state, rather than in the parent's actual worth or love.
That understanding seems crucial for survival.
So, after walking through all this really deep, somber territory, the source does pivot, doesn't it? Towards the end, it offers something like a path forward, a way you endure for the parent caught in this impossible situation. It feels like a crucial reframing.
It absolutely is. It shifts the focus back inward to the parent's own inner life, their own integrity. And this reframing is vital for preserving self-worth. Because the erasure, the silence, it naturally breeds self-doubt. What did I do wrong? Am I unlovable? The source directly counters that corrosive thinking.
Right. The message is really clear. If your children have erased you, it is not because you are worthless.
Emphatically not. And crucially, it is not because you lacked love or failed them in some fundamental way.
The disconnect isn't a true reflection of the parent's love or lack thereof.
No, it's presented as a reflection of the child's inability to cope with the pain, the manipulation, the invisible scars that the source mentions, which are just too heavy for them to confront.
So the burden, the reason for the silence, lies more with the kind of psychological fallout of the alienation process, the weight of the narrative they're trapped in, not with the parent's love itself.
Exactly. The parent's love might be strong and true, but the child simply cannot face the implications of acknowledging it.
Okay. So if a parent can start to accept that difficult truth, that the erasure is more about the child's situation than their own failings, what then? How do they endure this ongoing void?
The instruction given is powerful in its simplicity, though incredibly hard to live out. It is to remain standing with open hearts.
Remain standing with open hearts.
And
That takes immense strength. It's not passive.
Not at all. It's an active choice, an act of moral self-preservation, and it involves this really critical balance. On the one hand, the parent must not beg or plead for love. That diminishes their own dignity. But on the other hand, and this is explicit, they must actively guard against resentment.
Guarding against resentment. That feels like the core battle for the parent spirit.
It really is, because resentment is the natural, understandable reaction to being treated so cruelly. But it's also corrosive.
And maybe, in a way, it proves the alienator right. If the parent becomes bitter, maybe the alienating narrative seems justified.
Precisely. So, by choosing to remain standing with an open heart despite the pain, the parent maintains their integrity. They refuse to become the person the negative narrative paints them as.
So the silence wounds deeply.
Yeah.
We've established that. It's the void that hurts more than a blow.
Yes. But the source suggests that even this profound silence can teach something. It forces a radical reevaluation of what love means.
How so?
It teaches that the love of a mother or a father, it's not measured in replies.
Not measured in replies, meaning it doesn't depend on getting something back.
Exactly. If love was conditional on response, on reciprocation, then the moment the child went silent, the parent's love would logically have to end too. But that's usually not what happens, is it?
No. The love often continues, agonizingly sometimes.
Right. And so that love finds its measure elsewhere. It's measured, the source says, in what endures, even when one has been erased.
Wow. So the very persistence of the parent's love, despite the silence, despite the erasure, that becomes the testament to its depth.
That's the interpretation offered. The enduring affection, the choice to keep the heart open while guarding against resentment, that becomes the silent victory. A victory over the manipulation, over the void itself. It's proof of something real that the erasure couldn't destroy.
And this leads to that final, powerful paradox that sums up the entire experience, a kind of defiance against the erasure.
Yes. Despite the pain, despite the suspension, the parent finds a way forward, a way rooted in their own existence, their own capacity for love. In spite of the silence, we live. In spite of the erasure, we love.
That commitment to life and to love, even when facing this profound negation, that's the core of survival. That's the ultimate claim to one's own truth. #tag_outro. Well, this has been a very deep and frankly quite somber dive into this unique kind of pain, the pain of emotional erasure. Hopefully, though, it gives a necessary voice to the, as the source says, thousands of parents who might be living in this impossible state of suspension.
And understanding that crucial distinction is key, isn't it? This isn't usually a clean ending. It's this haunting, chronic, ambiguous loss.
Yeah, absence being colder, crueler than conflict.
Right. But survival seems to lie in grasping that the true value of one's love, it actually transcends the need for a reply. It endures.
And the goal becomes, well, to remain standing, to keep your own integrity intact, even when your history is being actively deleted from your child's life story.
It's an immense challenge.
It really is. We hope that for you, our listener, this reflection maybe brings some clarity or perhaps even some comfort if this resonates with your own experience. We encourage you to think about that difference, the finality of a true ending versus the exhausting, open-ended void of a suspension.
What does it mean to love someone who acts as if you're already dead? The answer seems to be found in that enduring commitment.
To continue to live and to continue to love anyway, unconditionally.
And the author of these powerful reflections, Vanina Vergara, is actively looking to connect with others who might be experiencing the same mirrored wound. She offers a point of contact for shared understanding. I read letters sent to mailto.vergaravanina@yahoo.com.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. It was heavy but important. We hope it provided some perspective on this often invisible form of suffering.